Hello, it's Greg Grizzled and Gaijin. We're back. We hope you're having a happy day wherever you listen to this audio content from. As always, we'd like to thank you for your continued support of Greg Grizzled and Gaijin social media and writing efforts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is episode 034 of the Greg Grizzled and Gaijin, definitely not a podcast show, a light and fluffy look at social media, Japan, Japanese food, expat life, and life in general. As always, your retweets of this and all the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful content that we actively tweet and retweet on Craig Hoffman11 on Twitter is appreciated. Thank you in advance for helping us get the good word out about Greg Grizzled and Gaijin. Welcome back. Another good show today, I hope. Talking about expat and life in general, really, regrets and dealing with that whole road not taken in life. I do these shows mostly as a community service for the social media content creators, of course, expats and people with trouble in their lives, and those who are seeking, of course, some entertainment. I try to be entertaining. Many of you have written that I'm entertaining. You enjoy this format as you're able to do other things, and that's great. And I know a lot of my friends and family who don't have time to read my blog or don't really have interested in, or aren't interested rather, in all things Japan. They're happy to kind of listen to my voice and be reminded of the relationships that we once had together, and I miss them too, of course. So some of this is for them and the people that I don't get to see and interact and talk to every day. Hopefully there's a little piece of me that they can take from this, that they remember fondly from our time in America together. Or even those, I get some folks who lived in Japan with me who now live back in their home countries, and I miss them a lot, to be sure. But I got a Greg Grizzled and Gaijin mailbag question, talking about regrets and the whole road not taken or less traveled, as it were. And it kind of came up this week a little. I was talking to a Facebook friend. She's not just a friend, full disclosure. About 15, 16 years ago, before I came to Japan, I was very much in love with her. She's really special. Still special, I'm married, not stupid. And before I get hate mail, my lovely wife knows that we still communicate and write. One supposes halfway around the world, nothing is going to happen. But in fact, that girl is getting married soon. And that's great. And she's pretty excited about that. And that's good. And nervous at the same time. And we were kind of talking about, what could have been. And I said, yeah, I do kind of think about what might have been, that we might have worked out. And funny enough, she became today the person. If she had been that woman 16 years ago, we would have probably gotten married and been really perfect. And I said something on my Facebook, that's kind of what started the conversation, that I'm not that kind of person that would do whatever I was talking about and tolerate whatever. And she kind of took some offense to that. And so people change. She became the woman I wanted 16 years ago, and I became a different person. And, now even single, she wouldn't be a person that I would probably marry. And that's good. That's the way things are, right? And, I was also thinking about coming to Japan. My original plan was to stay in Japan for just a year and go home. And I was talking to my beloved mother last weekend, as I do every weekend. And, she laments that I'm not home and hanging out with her and doing stuff. And certainly as she's getting older, being around to kind of help her do more things. And that's the way it goes. There's a price to pay when you live abroad. Somebody loses. For everything I've gained, my family lost a son, a brother, a nephew. My friends lost a valued friend, I think they would say. And I don't know if regret is the right word, but perhaps accepting that something has been lost for me to gain something in my life. And sometimes that's been hard for me. I try to be really positive on my blog and Twitter, but last year, 2018, was a difficult year for me. for the first time, I don't know, in a long time, I hit a wall, an expat kind of wall, and there are lots of reasons for that. But it got hard to kind of wake up and go at my day with the positive attitude that I had had all the years before, and it's certainly I'd had throughout my married life. And I couldn't really explain why that is, but it was. I think partly it came with still teaching English after 14 years almost, and 7 years with my current company. I have a really good job, and in fact I'm fantastic at teaching English. And that's not a humble brag, that's a fact verifiable by thousands of students, hundreds of coworkers, and another hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of school board members and people who have watched me teach. I'm just good at it. It doesn't mean that's my passion, it just means I make a full effort for it. And I think like anything, when you teach, especially the younger levels of English, it gets stale. It's the same lessons, the same types of problems, the same types of issues again and again and again. And I think even home life, as people left Japan that I was close to, my circle of expat or foreigner friends, if you prefer that moniker, that I could talk to over beer and say, hey, this is bothering me, was not really there. And so it kind of bottles up inside. And I do talk to my wife about it, but, you know, she's not in the salt mines every day doing that. She's not a foreigner living here every day. And even my foreigner friends who were here, who went back home, Japan changes quick. The shops are different, the names are different, the teachers are different. And it becomes harder and harder and harder for them to relate to. And the more time passes, people grow apart, and you're not nearly as comfortable confiding and sharing such things as you might have been when they were living near you, or you were seeing them far more often. I have like one expat friend who I still talk to several times a week. He living back in America, almost coming back to Japan, I hope. Not in my area, sadly, but, you know, he and I still talk, and we face the same kind of challenges. So I have some solace in that. But he got busy, and he had stuff going on in his life. And so, you know, our back and forth of, this is my problem, this is my trouble, what do you do, what do you do, didn't probably help either of us, and I apologize to him for that. I wasn't probably as positive as I should have been. I don't know. And again, that's not really a regret, but more like a stark reality of staying here a long time that I'm now coming to understand fully. And that's a little harder. And getting a little older, while I'm not ancient, you start kind of seeing and looking towards a future that looks less changeable and looks less like you're maybe going to come out on top no matter how hard you work. And I know that's kind of a negative outlook, but I don't know that it's an unrealistic one. And that bothers me a little bit. I know I've tried hard to go in later to my company since the new year started. I was going in really, really early, and I realized that all it was doing was making me tired. And I've tried to work less at home with some of that stuff and keep it confined to my company, putting more delineation between work and home. And I've tried to put more separation, rather, between my home life and even social media and writing. And I think sometimes in my valiant attempt to compartmentalize my life, it's kind of created little boxes that I feel kind of trapped in. Like, this is my work box, and I'm stuck here. And this is my family or marriage box, and I'm kind of stuck here. And this is my writing box, and I'm stuck here. And this is my social circle box, and I'm kind of stuck there. And I don't know that that's really good. So I've tried to take a step back and realize that those boxes are of my own design and creation in my mind. And I know I've spent a lot of time at night recently clearing my mind and just trying to let go of what I see as challenges, and hopefully what's left in my mind are the things that I should really be focused on, and at least the things that I can control. And perhaps that bothers me more, that I find as time goes on, despite carving a little place out for myself in a foreign country, growing on social media, and kind of becoming a little successful and doing well in my personal life with my wife and those I care about, I've kind of failed in other areas. And perhaps I should stay more focused on the positives. But, you know, I was over the holidays and I realized that I had a couple days of free time, and I really didn't have any other foreigner that I could call and say, hey, let's go have a drink. Hey, let's go out to dinner. Hey, let's go do something together. And there are foreigners that I know, but they're older like me, and they work hard like I do, and they have family, and they have responsibilities like I do, and, you know, the schedules matching up are just impossible. But I also realized that I had made very little effort to get to know any of the new, younger foreigners. To be honest, and it sounds terrible, I don't have the patience or inclination to play babysitter for people who will be gone in a year or two. And I know that sounds selfish, and perhaps it is, but I just don't have that kind of time to willingly put the drama in my life that comes with that. And to be sure, there is. I don't know. And that's not really a regret, but again, another reality of living here a long time. Someone had come to my company the other day doing a software update on some English program that my company decided to buy a few years ago. And he was from Ghana, I think. And he had been living in Japan for like 20 years. And I realized how long it had been since I had met somebody who had been living here longer than I have. Not to say that there aren't a lot of foreigners who haven't lived here longer, but I just don't meet them in the circles of English teaching. Either they run their own schools or they've moved on to other things. So, you know, meeting somebody who's been in English teaching or in Japan or still English teaching after like year 14 for me is pretty rare. And again, I don't get out to meet a lot of English teaching foreigners these days. But he still seemed pretty happy. But you could see that Japan had kind of beat on him a bit over the years. I said, you know, do you like your company? He's like, yeah. I said, oh, you been with them a long time? Yeah. And it was clear, like, it was just a job, right? And I felt like I could have patted him on the shoulder and said, hey, hey, hey there, bub. Me too, me too. But it's always good to be employed, right? It certainly beats the alternative. And again, it's not a regret that I didn't move on to other things. I'm fortunate to have a good job and a good position with the company. But I look at other people and what they've moved on to, or other things that they've done here in Japan or back in their home countries. And I wonder what I could have done if I had gone back home after that first year, or after the 5 years when my first job ended, or perhaps gone back with my wife when we first got married. It shocks me that this year I'm going to be looking for a sweet diamond. That's the typical Japan wedding anniversary, 10-year wedding anniversary gift. 10 years, like a blink of an eye, right? And I look at my Facebook, and daily pictures of my life with my wife have appeared, and we look so young and so genki and so happy. And she still looks so young and genki and happy, and I look older. And I wonder how that can be. And she often comments, my wife that is, my kimuchi, my feeling or outlook towards life. She tends to be really, really positive and sees the bright side of everything. And I tend to still be, to some degree, Chicken Little behind the scenes, wondering when the sky is going to fall, and that annoys her to no end. But it kind of keeps me motivated to keep working, right? I think the second I got comfortable and I thought nothing bad was going to happen to me, the world around me as I know it would end. So I regret that even after almost 14 years in Japan, I've never found a way to be like 100% sold that coming to Japan and staying in Japan was the right choice for my life. And sometimes I think, well, if I made a lot of money, then I'd know for certain that this was the right choice. And I think, well, maybe if I had a different job that was, quote, career-oriented, a professional job, end quote, maybe I'd say, yeah, I made it in Japan. And maybe if I became super popular on social media and in writing, I'd be like, see, staying the course and fighting the good fight was worth it. And maybe if I had tons of friends and my life was full of parties and social events, I'd say, look, see, I have a full and complete life. And I don't know. But I have almost all of those things to a fair degree. And there's still some uncertainty inside me that wonders, why did I come here? Why did I stay? And perhaps last year, why don't I leave? And I don't know. And I think I started out this podcast today focused on failure and regret and dealing with the road that you didn't take. And I don't know, maybe it's just one of those things in the course of getting a bit older as the years pile up, as the kilometers hit my legs walking here and there to my company for work. And maybe as those pictures do keep getting older and older on my Facebook feed, there's a growing part of me that wonders a little louder on the inside if that was the way to go. But it takes some solace that that's the way for everybody. Even if I stayed in America, there's probably a big part of me who wonders, hey, what if I had stayed in Japan? What if I had gotten married? What if I had moved somewhere else? So you realize the folly of living in the what ifs and the woulda, coulda, shouldas of life, and that's the way it goes. So I hope if you're a person who kind of has those self-doubt moments, and perhaps it was just my high fever over the last couple of days that made me hallucinate and somewhat delusional, but if that's you and you're kind of wondering, man, what if I had only done this? What if I could have done this or should have done this? And what a mistake that was. And if I'd only been a little bit more, and if I'd only seen this or that. The reality is I didn't see it, I didn't do it, and I missed the opportunity. And my life is where it is at this exact moment, on this exact day. And I personally believe my life at the end of the day is exactly where it should be. So again, if you're feeling down about your lot in life, where you are and where you think you should be, stop and realize the sum total of whatever you did or didn't do, whatever happened or didn't happen to you, whatever luck went or didn't go in your favor, has passed, and from this moment forward, you have a new opportunity and chance to begin anew. Stay positive. That's it, and have a great, great day.